Good morning, everybody. It's Cosmic Compass conversation time. And after we do our breathing and our cards today, we're going to do a little musing about Saturn, who's considered our great teacher. And while Saturn is just barely still in Aries right now, it's retrograde, moving back into Pisces soon. Um, I just wanted to bring us into that place of understanding what it is we're learning right now so that we'll be ready, a little bit more ready for next year, because I'm always talking about next year, next year. What are we preparing for? So it's like, okay, we're going to do a little reflection today. All right. Okay. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and drop in and do a little breathing. And if you're not in a place where you can do that, if you can, you don't need to close your eyes, but if you could just bring your awareness into your body and into your breath and into your belly, then we'll be good. But if you want to join me, I'm going to close my eyes because it just makes me feel, more connected. So, closing the eyes or lowering the gaze or bringing your awareness inward and taking a moment to just feel where you are. Feel the air around you. Feel how you feel in your body. And take just a normal breath just for a moment. And on the exhale, feel your jaw relax if you can. See if your shoulders want to drop a little more downwards. Settle into your hips. If you're standing, feel your feet. If you're sitting, feel your feet. Even if you're lying down, feel your feet. Feel the energy of the earth and thank the earth and all those who have come before for bringing strength and support, especially at this time. So we're going to breathe from that place. We're going to breathe and expand the belly a bit more. And when you're ready, we're going to exhale fully through the mouth. Feel those shoulders dropping. Breathing again, feeling that energy rising up from the earth, filling the belly. Feeling just expanding a little more. And when you're ready, exhaling, feeling the jaw relax, feeling the shoulders relax. And again, feeling that beautiful supportive energy coming up through the soles of your feet, expanding your belly, expanding a little more. And then exhaling. You might want to wiggle out, just relax the body a little more. And taking another breath in, up through the soles of your feet, expanding the belly. Expand the belly a little more. And exhaling. And you can move. You can shake out your hands, move your arms, and when you're ready, you can come back. Um, yeah, the type of meditation this is, or the type of just breathing this is, doesn't require complete stillness. If you need to move your body, just move it because it needs to move. So there's energy flowing. And sometimes we want to shake off the energy, and sometimes we want to contain the energy. So, you know, more on that another time. But right now, just being here with all of you is pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. We'll pull some cards this morning, see what they say for this week. Last week was pretty good, actually. I really enjoyed them. And for those of you who have been joining me on Friday and Saturday for our circles, you know that I'm here with Piper, who's just sleeping right here with her cone on and all her sutures healing. So everything seems to be going well, which is always a good thing. So I'm very happy she's doing okay, which is great. Happy about that. All right. So these cards, we ask that our guides and our higher selves, our ancestors, Um, give us some insight into how we can move through this week with ease and grace. How's that? A little bit more joy and pleasure while we're still in Leo until Friday. All right, here we go. Well, this card looks a little, um, it looks a little scary, but actually it's a pretty interesting card. But I'm just gonna put it up and then you decide. Just pull it away slowly. Okay, let's get it into some sort of, there we go. Got a full moon. And there we go. You can't see my smile behind the card. Interesting card to start our week. We will take it in. And again, best thing to do is what is the story this card is telling you right now? And actually, it might be a good idea today because we are going to be looking at a lot of learning. The stories that we see, the stories that we feel, they're important to look at. So if this card has a particular story, great, let it surface. Let yourself think about it just for a moment. It is swords, so we are going to be thinking about it. Okay. All right. No more to be said on that, but it is interesting to start our time. And our next card, very different card. We're getting lots of options this week. I love that. And again, what's the story in this card? And there are so many options, so many possibilities. Yes, each card has its meaning, but there's just so much that it can mean for each of us. And I love that, again, I say this every week, but Chris Ann's The Light Seers Tarot cards, her art's very good. And I think it really lends itself to the story. So cups, element of water and feelings, emotions. Swords is the element of air and thought in the mental realm. And our third card for today is this one. And we're getting some cards we don't normally get, which is always nice. The Two of Wands. And again, what is the story here? What is the story in this card? And wands are fire, creativity, life force. And I'm just thinking in the Mother Peace Tarot, this card, I love it when this card shows up. And in this deck, there's a different kind of artwork and a different way the story is being told. But again, how do you feel it? How do you see it today? So guidance, the only element missing is earth. And we do have a new moon in Virgo Friday, Saturday, which is earth. And it's interesting that that earth didn't show up in this particular reading. Makes me want to pull a fourth card. I think I'm going to pull a fourth card. Okay. Always not. And it's okay if it's not earth. I'm good with that. I'm just curious. Ooh, probably shouldn't have pulled it. Anyway, that's okay. It must harken back to the first card, which is fine. I'll still show it to you. There was a globe in that last card. It's true. So that does count as Earth. Thank you. All right. This card, not, there you go. Maybe you really don't want to see the focus. But actually, again, this card is really helpful card. There's a story here. And I think it's really important for us to look at which side of the story are we on? Which end of the story? Where are we in the story? The Two of Swords, some more thinking, some more thought. more air, which actually makes sense. I mean, it all makes sense. So, all right. So I'm going to put this one actually, even though it's at the end, I'm going to put it back toward the beginning with the other swords, and we'll see potentially a progression between these two cards, which is how it's set up. We never really talked about this before, but they are actually set up in a progression. There are reasons for them to look the way they do. So I'm going to put her back at the beginning, and then this one, and this one, and then that one. Okay. And I'll put it all in the follow-up email, the affirmations. And if I have any thoughts, I'll share them. Sometimes I don't do that because I really want you to have your own story. So, all right, are we ready for Seth? Are we ready for this? Okay, not sure. I've been thinking about this all since yesterday, and I'm like, am I ready for this? Am I really ready for this? Okay, I'm going to bring up, actually, I'm not going to do that because if I do that, then you all show up on the recording. So I'm going to just look at the chart myself and tell you that Saturn is at 0 degrees Aries right now. So quickly slipping back toward, well, quickly, not so quickly, but moving back toward Pisces. So a lot of planets are retrograde right now. And what I really wanted to do today was talk about this time that we've had Saturn in Aries has been it's been a few months now. And we know that Aries is fire. We know it's the beginning sign. We know that it's pioneering energy. We also know that Aries can sometimes, oh gosh, Aries energy has a lot of protection energy there. And it can sometimes, if we're in the shadow side of an Aries energy, it can be aggressive, warlike. Aries is the god of war, right? If we're moving in the healthy side, and again, maybe that's a judgment, let's just say shadow and light, okay? But if we're moving in the lighter side of Aries, we're advocating, we're supporting, we're protecting, and we're bringing more peace, okay? Aries energy requires us to have a good sense of self. And this is what I want to focus on today with Saturn. So I'm not saying every Aries has a great sense of self. And the Aries energy for all of us, even if you are an Aries, is here to learn about and reflect upon who you are, how you show up in the world. It's the very first sign. So it's the beginning. And Aries energy is very much about pioneering, about creating new paths ahead. Okay, again, that's the light of it. So Saturn, and this is kind of where I want to start with our reflections today. And we'll just go one at a time, and you can just jot them down, and I'll transcribe this so I can put a list of them in the follow-up email as well. How is it, so these are framed a little differently, but how is it that I am being fully myself? How is it that I am being fully myself? So the Aries energy has us thinking about how we can be our authentic selves, how we can move forward in the world, how we can share who we are. Saturn wants us to learn and be in our discernment and also create strong foundations and find our wisdom, which generally means Saturn, as the great teacher, has lessons. So, how is it that I am being fully myself? If there are places in our lives where we are not being fully who we are, this is an opportunity to shift. Okay, so what does it mean to be fully ourselves? And therein lies a much deeper question. Like, what does that mean exactly? Who am I? That's always a reasonable question. If it's some, and I think most people here have been already thinking about this a long time, like from the time you were born. So it's probably not a big question for you, but how is it I'm fully expressing who I am? And where am I not? Is the Saturn question. Where am I not fully expressing who I am? Where can I be doing it more? And another Saturnian question to deepen into, which is the crunchy part of these early degrees, right? And the retrograde and moving back is, where in my life am I constricted or stuck in patterns of not being fully myself? Okay. Where am I feeling constricted? Where am I stuck? Saturn has an energy to remind us of things that hold us back sometimes. Okay. So we might have a behavior or a pattern, an old habit, something in our family system that has shown up. Could be a way of languaging something. It could be a way of interrelating. It could be, could be anything that has shown up in the last few months to remind us of some healing that wants to happen. Okay. So another way to look at this is, where can I strengthen my foundations so I feel safe enough to express myself fully? Where can I strengthen my foundations so I feel safe enough to express myself fully? Okay. So that's the very positive way to look at this. And then a Saturnian element would be to say, where in my life am I not feeling safe enough? That's fair. Saturn needs us to look at everything, all sides. Where in my life am I not feeling safe enough to be my full self? Okay. So everybody in their natal chart, Saturn, you have a natal Saturn in your chart somewhere. And the sign and the house give us information about where we're learning lessons in this lifetime. Lucky us. And then when we have transits, Saturn is transiting around our chart, shows us where current lessons are being brought to us, given to us. So I can't speak for all of you because I don't have all your charts up, but I can say that for me, where Saturn is right now is at a pretty critical degree. I mean, it is for everyone, but in my chart, it's at an angle, which the angles are your ascendant, your descendant, your midheaven, and your foundation piece, your IC. So I can feel the crunchiness of, as Saturn is in the place that it is right now, how am I taking care of my needs? The questions that we're each needing to ask ourselves, you know what, you actually already know what's up. If you look at how things have surfaced, even just go for the last week. If you don't want to even look at the last few months, how was last week? It was a rough week for a lot of people. And there was some amazing support in the sky. So what does that tell us? It's like, oh, right. Okay, there's support for me to find my way through this, whatever this is. So I can say for myself, how am I meeting my needs? What are my needs? How am I taking care of myself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, right? And I will venture to all of you, since this is Aries, that wherever it is in your chart, it's something you need to focus on for yourself. Okay. Where am I? And again, depending on where the transit is, you can fill in the blank, but you want to be thinking about something about you. And for many, many of you, you're used to meeting other people's needs or other beings' needs. You're of service in so many different ways. So Saturn is saying, while it's at this critical point of Aries, whatever those things are, how are you taking care of that for yourself? How are you looking out for you? And this is, again, this is not a narcissistic thing. This is not a selfish thing. This is something that allows us to be better and be ourselves more fully so we can be in more service to the greater good, whatever that is for each of us. So, I knew this would be, Saturn is very serious. I'm sorry to say, Saturn really isn't light. There's no lightness to Saturn. I like Saturn. I live on my Saturn line, which actually nobody would recommend, by the way. No astrologer would ever recommend that. But I've lived on it all my life except for less than a year. And I really like it because it helps me focus. It helps me ground. It is a very serious planet because it's there for support and it's also there as a guide. And, you know, yeah, making friends with Saturn. That's a good title. I should do, that's a great title. Okay, making friends with Saturn. Um, okay, so here's a little fun little tip. Where Saturn is in your natal chart, your birth chart, is where we grow younger as we get older. So we learn hard lessons in the beginning of our lives with Saturn, wherever Saturn is in our chart. And then we can grow younger as we get older. Most of the time, unless you're maybe living on your Saturn line, and then you might be serious all the time. I don't know. But I'll give you an example of this from my own chart. So Saturn's in my fifth house, and my childhood was not very childhood like. A lot of responsibility, very hard stuff, very early on. So I did not have the childhood I would actually want a child to have. So the promise is, first of all, my inner child needs to play and have fun and enjoy life. So I have to, part of my job, part of my work is to attend to my inner child. But also as I get older, the promise is that I get to have more fun. And actually, I would say that's true. If we look at the many decades of life that I've had, I'm having way more fun now than I had when I was a kid, right? So wherever it is in your chart, and again, for those of you that don't know astrology, it's okay. Um, we can do another session where we have a little group thing and um, how to make friends with Saturn. So we'll have the Chiron one, we'll have a Saturn one, and we'll go over where it is in your chart. But let's just say it's some of you, because I'm trying to think of, yeah, I can't think of where, I just can't identify your charts here off the top of my head. So, but let's just say you have it in your third house. Okay. House of communication, house of friends, house of coworkers, neighbors, cousins, learning and teaching, writing. Saturn would say you're going to work hard early in your life to communicate, to learn how to communicate, and or it will be challenging. There's a bunch of challenges around communication. Okay, fair. As you get older, it should get easier. Probably because you've already been working on it your whole life to make it better. But things will supposedly ease. So I think I'm old enough now. I think post your second Saturn return, which is around 59, 60, we get to say that we've seen enough of Saturn to say, oh, do you see the deer in the background? There's a family, a mama deer and two little babies with little spots. So sweet. Um, anyway, distraction. Saturn does not like distractions. Just so you know, Saturn is not into the distractions, but Neptune is. And don't forget, Neptune and Saturn are still together side by side. Um, Neptune loved that. Neptune loved that. Neptune's like, oh, let's just look at nature. Let's relax. You're getting too serious, Saturn. You're way too serious. Okay. All right. So, other things we can think about with Saturn, at least right now. I've been talking a lot about dreams into reality. So, Neptune into reality, Saturn. Okay. So, dreams into reality. It occurs to me that there's been a lot of tough reality lately, and that's okay. That's why we're here on the planet, apparently, to learn. If there are dreams that don't feel like they can happen in this reality, that's something. Oh, look, a new dog. I don't remember that dog. If there are some dreams that don't feel like they can happen into this reality, Saturn is going to ask you the question, what is it you really want? So again, let's revisit our dreams, our visions, our goals, not our goals. Neptune doesn't like the word goals. Saturn likes the word goals. But what are our dreams? What are our visions? And can we be open to something unexpected, something new? And I bring this in because of the Uranus element. Okay, Uranus is at the first degree of Gemini and is in a sextile energetically. That's, it's 60 degrees away from Saturn and Neptune. And so Uranus is exacting its influence in here too, which is to give us some new ideas, things we haven't even thought of yet. So if we hold on to our visions too much, the heavy side of Saturn would be, I'm gonna work really, really hard to do this. I'm gonna get it done. Trust me, I know I've got this Saturn thing all over me. Okay, I'm gonna get it done. All right. If I do that, I am not open to other possibilities. I'm not dreaming, I'm not visioning. So if I'm holding on really tightly to something, and there's a difference between holding on so tightly that we're not in flow, okay, so that's the shadow side of Saturn, then holding something and moving, flowing with it. I think that one of our people here understand this really well, this idea of flowing with the movement, not holding on tightly, too tightly. I mean, obviously, if we're actually somewhere where we need to hold on to something, like let's say you're in a moving bus, you need to hold on in order to not fall over. So I'm not, oh, yeah, see, told you. Okay. So weird when that happens. But if we're holding on too tightly to a dream or a vision, um, we are really not open to what else is possible, right? If there is a pattern or a stuckness or a wounded place, let's bring Chiron in. It's not in an early degree, but the retrograde of Chiron that I talked about last week. And there's those feelings, the old stuff that's surfacing. If I'll speak for myself. If I'm still wandering in some levels of feeling shame or not good enough or too much or not being heard or not feeling worthy, all of those things that Chiron can bring up, in Aries, by the way, then how am I really moving forward with all that I have? So the first thing to address is, where am I holding on to what isn't actually helping? And is there a way to loosen my grip on that? And in order to do that, I have to feel safe enough to let go of something, or to at least loosen it a little bit, so some new energy can get in. So Saturn says, what am I learning from this? Where are the old patterns showing up, or where are the ideas just too rigid? Where am I blocking something that I could be opening up? And yeah, these are not my favorite. These are not my favorite questions, but they're really good questions, because it's really vital for us to move forward. There's a lot of this reflection, especially in Aries, of self. When Saturn goes back into Pisces, we'll have a different conversation. But right now, this is the one we're having. Because, and the way this all relates to the next era, is when Saturn and Neptune come together in February at 0 degrees Aries. I would like speaking for myself, I would like any of my old patterns and my old wounds to have been addressed enough. Nothing's ever 100%. There's no perfect here. But I'd like them to be addressed enough that I can move forward with more ease and more flow. Neptune brings that. Now, Neptune has a shadow side too, so we can talk about that another time. But there is this, how can I move forward with more flow and more ease? Okay. That's what I want. I want us all to be able to move toward dreams and visions and even the mystery, like things we don't even know that are waiting for us. And my gosh, I will just say this. The times we've been living through for a while now have us all a little worried about what's going to happen next. So it's really hard to say, oh, yeah, I'm really excited about what's coming next, and I don't know what it could be. Okay, I get it. I'm like with you every day. I'm like, really? That happened? Are you kidding me? So the mystery has somehow taken a dark turn. But let's bring back the joy of the mystery. Let's bring back the magic of the mystery. We can do that and still be attending to the realities of what's going on. So my thought is, let's get ready for more magic. How can we do that? Kind of unclutter, unclog. Maybe there's a little deconstruction. Yeah, awe and wonder. How can we get back to awe and wonder and magic? Oh, and if you have not signed up for fairy mail yet, fairy mail is fun. Okay. And those of you in the UK, I think she'll send it to you. I mean, the fairies will send it to you. Um, I'll put a link in I'll put a follow-up link. But I got my first fairy mail and it was really awesome. So I think at this moment in time, we need all the magic we can get. So a little distraction there, but coming back. Preparing. So I would like us to feel good about surprises. I would like to bring that back. I would like to bring back the, oh, I'm excited about what I don't know that's going to come into my life that'll be magical and joyful and fun. This isn't denying grief and pain and stress. It's just, why not have both? I mean, if you're going to have one, why not have them both? Right? I mean, I would prefer to at least be able to lean into the other for a little while. Um, and we can make more of a difference in the world. And I think that's the ultimate plan with Saturn is what is my contribution? So Saturn in astrology rules the 10th house, which is people say 10th house is career. Yes, the 10th house is career, but it's also our contribution. And it's also what we're known for, and it's what we're recognized for. So Saturn has a sense of if we put forth some work toward what it is we desire, if we deepen into our discernment, if we connect with the foundations of magic and I appreciate what was just put in the chat. And I'm going to come back to that. It's very good. But if Saturn says, let's create a stronger foundation, a better container for joy and magic, awe and wonder, for the tenderness. And that's actually that Saturn and Pisces thing that we'll get to. So we'll come back to that. But right now, Saturn is saying, how can we create a better foundation, a better structure, better scaffolding, a better container for joy, magic, wonder, awe, while we're also dealing with a lot of pain and stress and strife and all of that. So I kind of lost my train of thought in there, but I think the idea is there and I think you got it. I hope you got it because there's so much going through my brain that I'm like, well, that's that for now. Um, and then I think that as we move through this next week or so, maybe the next 2 weeks, just be aware, what am I learning? And how can I bring some tenderness, So we'll bring that word tenderness in because I like that word. How can I bring some tenderness in? If this is how I'm feeling, so I'll just bring the cards back here for a minute. If this is how I'm feeling, and I don't want to tell you your story, but I'm going to tell you my story here. What if these birds are helping take off the blinders? What if the magic lies, these crows and ravens symbolize magic. What if the magic is helping me see more? What if the full moon, and this is a very interesting card. I'm not going to go into all the details, but this guy right here, the messenger, right? What if there was something I need to pay attention to, right? Saturn's like, pay attention, work with it. You could go a lot of places with this. Go a lot of places with this. But there is, I will say that based on this card for myself, there is something in my life that I'm aware of, that I'm working toward getting clearer about. Why don't we go there? We'll go there. I like that. And guess what? This is nice. So that there's more emotional fulfillment on the other side of this. So I think that's the thing about Saturn is that there's discipline, or I think there's a Pilates phrase, form before freedom. I think that's a Pilates phrase. I could be wrong, but form before freedom or discipline before freedom. That's okay. Oh man, those of you who've been journeying with me for a while know that the word discipline was something I had to ease into discipline. But then I remembered that that disciple was really about the study of something, so that a discipline was actually a deepening into a study of something. I was like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. But that idea of taking on something and then having the freedom on the other side. And that's kind of how I see this card, that emotional contentment on the other side, right? But there's work to do. Saturn, there's work to do. And then the last card is, where am I going to venture out in the world to find more magic? So that's my story. You can have whatever story you want about this, but that's my story. And there are other ways to interpret this, which I also really like. Listening to your higher self, listening to your guides, however you want to do it. But I do see these first two swords cards as taking off the blinders so I can see something, hearing the warning messages so I can get to what it is I need to get to. And this has been, I have my own journey of this. It hasn't been the easiest week. I'm just going to say that. But then there's this and there's this. So there's a million things we could talk about. I'm going to say one more thing and then I'm going to stop. But you guys are great. So thank you. Um, this was a beautiful reflection by one of our beautiful community members. Joy and sorrow are both tender spaces. And we have lost the value of tenderness. I do think that tenderness is such a great word. Like, what does it mean to feel tender? Right? Like, that's a really excellent word. So, what we'll do is when Saturn goes back into Pisces, we'll have a chat on the word tender. And what does it mean to have tenderness in our spaces of ourselves? Okay, so I imagine that there are probably a million things we could talk about next, and there are probably a lot of questions. Feel free to send me your questions. I can always address them in the next Cosmic Compass and Making Friends with Saturn. I could be hosting a few little workshops over the fall. That sounds fun. But primarily, I just want us to leave with knowing that while Saturn is our great teacher, and we do have lessons to learn, and sometimes they're crunchy. That's how I've been feeling lately, crunchy. Um, for me, the work with Saturn always leads to something better. And that's the important thing. The hard stuff, and I spent a lot of my lifetime, my early lifetime, trying to avoid because my life was hard. Saturn, my life was really hard growing up. And so then I kind of spent some time numbing out and trying to get away from the challenges. But honestly, when I dove back in to taking care of myself and looking at my needs and really deepening into the Saturn lessons, life became a lot more joyful. And in this time where we are under an incredible amount of stress in many different areas of our lives, we need more joyful. We need balance, she says. The Libra rising says, we need more balance. So, more to be revealed. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so appreciative of always having you all to talk to. It's so much better than just talking to myself. So thank you for listening, and send me your questions. And I am going to turn off the recording and then unspotlight myself